Okay, welcome to the end of the world. This is the Last Intellectuals Are Really Stupid podcast. We are, unfortunately, incredibly stupid. I'm Borley Borelstein / Austin. I just forgot that we were going to not wreck continuity. I already fucked it
That's
up.
so funny. I am Fauntleroy, also known as Sean.
And what are your pronouns?
My pronoun is really take your pick. It doesn't matter. I would call myself him. Is that it?
What if
Yeah.
somebody saw you, though? What would they think?
If somebody saw me, they would say that guy's awesome.
Yes, same goes for me. Whatever he said. I have to hitch my buggy to the right horse because my horse died like 20 feet back. So it's been a really fun week in the news for the Democrats. Everybody is dropping like flies to give all their spirit energy to Joe Biden so he can get his corpse. Okay. Have you seen the video of Hillary Clinton getting thrown into a back of a van like a piece of meat?
Yeah, when she was like having her problems or whatever. Yeah, and everyone thought that she was like a dysfunctioning robot.
Yeah,
Like,
Trump is the same way almost too. So just to be fair, we don't want to hate on Hillary Clinton too much, although I do
I
despise her as
think
a human being.
I think he has less physically he's less physically disabled in the sense that he can move around. It looks like it's just his brain
Yeah.
is incredibly broken.
Yes. Yeah, probably. I mean, he can golf, right? I hope. But essentially, the Democratic Party, the DNC National Convention this week, all the helpers of Hillary Clinton, those are like, Buttigieg, Bloomberg. Actually, Bloomberg didn't drop out, but he dropped out after
Yeah,
the Super Tuesday thing. And they're all like lugging Biden's corpse, down the river so that they can
across the finish
so
line.
they can get in because even the DNC party superdelegates themselves are conspiring to fuck over Bernie Sanders due to some insane affiliations here. Could you imagine this? What is this article here? The superdelegate pushing convention effort to stop Sanders as a healthcare lobbyist who backed McConnell. So this guy William Owen gave $8,500 to his classic committee. So whatever. I mean, if you're a fundraising committee for Republicans, you're probably a soulless monster. But if you're also a healthcare lobbyist, you're probably also a soulless monster. So the question is, how does somebody like this become a super delegate for the DNC? Like, how is that even
Well,
possible?
doesn't that go to like how does someone become a super delegate to begin with?
Yeah, which I
Is that kind of the core of the
assume.
question?
Yeah, from the little bit I understand of it, to be a super delegate basically means that like you're an old fogey, an old
Mm-hmm,
dog in
mm-hmm,
the party.
mm-hmm.
You have some kind of
Some kind of
mediocre
clout.
position in the government or something, and you can leverage that for special perks
Mm-hmm.
in the DNC. And I think the most interesting part about the story, and it's a very important reminder, is that we have one party that is monolithic, the
Mm-hmm.
Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
If you know a Republican, you pretty much know instantly all their stances.
Yeah, yeah.
They have the very consistent and insane messaging. Insane, not entirely same. And then the Democrats are a collection of mostly idiots and a few people who want to improve society for everybody else.
It's true,
I
yeah.
mean, as AOC said, in any other country, Joe Biden and I would not be in the same party.
Yeah, yeah.
And the guy that we're backing for Venezuela, I believe, I don't know, I don't know what country it is, but we're backing some
Mm-hmm.
guy because there's a bunch of instability in South American countries. We're backing some guy in one of these countries, and they brought him on Fox News, and they basically brought him on to shit talk socialism, and essentially he kind of laughed at him and said that, oh my god, Sylvia put a map up and it just fell down, and made a bunch of noise. But essentially, they brought the guy on to shit talk socialism, and the guy is just laughing like, "Oh, AOC, she'd be a centrist in my country, you know?
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, yeah.
Like, yep, this is where politics are in America, and this
I
is what
mean,
we get to live under."
we're so far to the right And people just don't realize that. People just kind of take it for granted, I guess. Well, not take it for granted, just
They take the
they're
culture
like
they live
okay
in
with
for
it.
granted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
kind of like the phrase, you know, uh, white people don't have a culture. What can fester for 200 years and still not develop a culture? That kind of meme. If you ever heard it, I'm not sure exactly what the joke is,
Uh-huh.
and the reason those jokes persist is because they're people who live in the majority culture,
Hmm.
the white space, and they don't see the culture because you already know all the
You are it.
like
Yeah,
all of your
yeah,
social understanding is the dominant culture. How
yeah.
you interact with other people is the dominant culture. America is a very individualistic society that necessitates itself upon explicitly saying what you need, and there is not an implicit understanding of somebody's needs as a human being, as opposed to like Native American or Chinese uh, cultures. And I don't think language entirely skews people that way. I mean, there's linguistic determinism, but the society of how people treat people causes, the language
Hmm.
to
Hmm. Yeah,
develop in one
yeah,
way or
yeah,
another.
yeah.
So, speaking of language and how people interpret things, Trump, I don't know, maybe he's feeling insecure, Super Tuesday happens and there's all the sorts of shit happening with the Democrats. Nobody's paying attention to the Republicans, They
Hmm.
aren't getting their date. Where's their Super Tuesday? Because when Trump had to go through the RNC to receive the nomination to be the presidential candidate, he had to fight all these other people. He was
Hmm.
getting all this, limelight. MSNBC, CNN, Fox News, they're just playing Trump shit all the time.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's not always good, but he's getting attention. And now
yeah.
everyone's looking at sleepy Joe Biden and Trump's jealous. So, Trump went down to like the three nerds in an office that he has, and he told them, "We need to shit out a survey that makes me feel good because I am a emotionally fragile human being and I need my ego stoked." So we have this authorized website of Trump headquarters, official Trump 2020 Super Tuesday exit poll,
Such a strange thing,
and
man.
let's take the exit poll. I mean, our
Okay,
state did not
yeah.
participate in Super Tuesday because we vote in like fucking May or some shit.
And forever, yeah.
Yeah, so like by the time we get to vote, it's gonna be
It's
between fucking
over.
Biden and fucking Tulsi Gabbard. They're gonna have already assassinated Bernie Sanders, so
Uh-huh.
and
Politically, of
politically,
course. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah, they're already doing that. Hillary Clinton started it with her
Job, yeah.
with everything with her Howard Stern and DNC emails. Man, that
Yeah.
was the most liberating time in all of democratic society, but whatever. Okay, so the first question here on the Trump poll, which do you identify as?
Now, it has a pretty broad dichotomy. You can you can choose from a wide variety of things.
Now, does
Unfortunately,
it
it's
capture all people though?
I think so. I think it captures the duality of
The duality of
man,
man.
the duality of
Okay,
man
I
as
see.
a
So
woman.
Trump he's a philosopher,
Yeah, he's a philosopher, and
philosophical. He's a falafel.
he's a
So what are these
philosopher.
dichotomy? What is the distinction that
Okay,
we can identify as
so
male
you
or
can
female? Is that it?
no, unfortunately, it's even more specific.
Oh,
It is you can either choose to be American or socialist.
oh,
I wasn't
oh.
aware that the two were mutually exclusive.
Yeah,
You had to choose
be,
between one or the
because I can
other.
be born an American, but I can become. I'm not born a socialist.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody's
Well,
born a socialist.
well, yeah, you're just radicalized into becoming
But
one.
oh, so maybe what Trump,
Suspicious.
maybe Trump is dog whistling, saying that he wants to get rid of
Basically,
magic
yeah.
dirt. He wants to get rid of, soil means American citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Stone Toss, he has a comic that says magic dirt. And it basically is making fun of the fact that, like, you can have some person who, didn't, has no way of it, quote, fulfilling American ideals,
Mm-hmm.
but they're American because they're born here. So maybe what Trump is saying is that, eventually you're not going to be able to be born American the same way you're not going to be able to be born socialist. You have to become American. Maybe
I
that's what he's going
wish,
for. Maybe
really wish
he's a
that.
5-level genius. I'm applying 5-level dimensional chess, and I'm understanding his thinking.
I really wish that was what any Republican would think, but I have a feeling it doesn't run that deep.
Well, you would be absolutely correct, but in this instance, you're absolutely incorrect. Okay, let's move on to the
Okay,
next
I see,
question.
I see, I see.
Okay, so I like how. So I did a little lab work in college, and I did a little research work, and you learn about how to phrase questions in a way that usually aren't completely stupid. So this is a very typical way of how you would phrase a question, or not phrase a question, but how you would provide answering. What the question is, what are your views on President Trump? And it ranges from strongly approve, somewhat disapprove, strongly disapprove. Now, this is a very typical phraseology, but they forgot one thing. See, these usually there's 5 here, and there's a I have no opinion.
Hmm.
But Trump and the people that view this, they see the world in black and white.
Hmm.
You either approve or you disapprove. There are no fence sitters because you know
Yeah.
what? They're building the wall, and then you can sit on the fence. But until the wall's built, you can't sit on the fence.
I don't think they even will let people on the fence. They'll probably shoot
They'll
them off
probably
if
shoot you.
they're-
Yes, if you're an American citizen, you're playing near a fence, and some guy yells at you, he has legal authority to shoot you, as determined by the Supreme Court of whatever shithole south fucking southern state
Yeah.
that determined that. So
I had to stand my ground. He was gonna jump. He was gonna suplex me off the top ropes.
yes, if you're lucky. Okay, so what do we got some nicknames coming up here.
Okay, this is I like this one. One thing I actually it's not that I admire it. I personally think it's funny like how Trump comes up with like nicknames for people. You know, that's like one of his like staples. Like he's always like kind of like spitballing different names for people on Twitter, like coming up with like, oh, I'm gonna
Yeah,
call
he's got
this
to find
person.
something to stick.
Yeah.
Not in his
I
view,
think-
not in his fans' heads, but in his own head because he has dementia.
I think his fans also have some form of like Alzheimer's. They seem to forget things a lot, either like on purpose or just it's
Yeah, they seem to forget the policies that he supports
that he
because
says that he was going to enact. Trump
Mexico is going to
literally
pay for the wall.
pay for the well, that's like I feel like that's a low-hanging fruit. Dude, he said that he could pass Medicare for all if he really wanted to.
Yeah, I like my favorite
He
one
was
is the
campaigning.
he says that he has a very unpopular stance among the Republican Party, but we have to have everyone insured. And then he just supported the fucking Paul Ryan bill, and then that thing just exploded. Didn't go anywhere because McCain came back from the grave to kill it. And then we learned something that day. We learned that the bar is so low for white male Republicans that you can spend your entire life being a huge pile of shit, but if you just vote one time the correct human way, you will be exonerated among the Reddit intelligentsia, and there will be many Reddit golds and Reddit platinums and Reddit silvers that will be bought on your behalf to Reddit users who remark on the bravery of your decaying corpse to vote for a human policy one time in your life. Well, against a policy that would be inhuman to people, because
You're alluding to John McCain, right?
yeah, John McCain came back from the dead to vote it down, and that bill had pre-existing conditions against rape and women who had children before. Like, I thought Republicans cared about protecting the American family, but you want to
not really.
disenable women to get health care for having another child? I mean, if we take it as far as the white nationalists of the Republican Party, wouldn't you want to enable
More
white families to have more? I mean, there is a part of the Republican Party that does want that and believe that.
Yeah.
And that's something that doesn't get talked about or addressed often enough. Because that's what I fucking see all the time in these right-leaning spaces. That's usually what it comes down to.
Yeah, unfortunately.
What about pro Joe Biden? Oh, this is because of the fucking Ukraine thing.
There was no quid pro quo, so yeah.
But so Trump's projecting his guilt on Joe Biden because Joe Biden's son is in Burisma, some Ukrainian thing, and Trump just ignores all of his own children are a part
His
of
own
the
emoluments.
his own children being a part of the government.
I mean,
But, I
but
mean, I guess they're attractive
honestly,
and white, so they can just do anything, right?
well, he doesn't want to fuck his daughter.
Definitely.
It is kind of like the thing with Biden's son being aboard in like an oil company is already not. It's not the cleanest thing.
It's not a
I
good
mean,
look for Joe Biden, but
that's part of the slum.
I'm a, what is the word? So it's like a whataboutism kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's like a thing where, they can't stop you if you just say, yeah, I fucking hate that too. Fuck them both.
yeah.
Like I don't give a fuck Joe
Yeah,
Biden
yeah,
and
yeah,
fuck
yeah,
his
yeah,
son,
yeah, 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 yeah. But
So
that's the thing. A lot of people lack that nuance, I feel. Because, like, I don't know if it's like tribalism or what, but as
oh, I
soon
think it's
as.
toddlerism, actually. It's an idea that if a standard is not being held to all humans at all times, that you reserve the right to do whatever you like.
Mhm.
And it's a mentality that like persists among people that like lack a concept of justice. Like, because then to enact justice in all instances at all times, you would need an unfathomably large surveillance and police state to do that. And
Mm,
nobody wants to live in that. So you have to accept that sometimes some people will get away with things and it will not be okay for the sake of, quote, freedom. But
yeah.
Republicans have no consistency, so whatever. What are the rest of these questions on this fucking survey? What's your opinions?
There is some other good ones. If you go down to
Oh my god, there's so many. Jesus
well,
Christ.
11 is pretty fun. Oh, which direction do you believe our nation is heading?
The right direction? The wrong direction.
Oh my God. I
That
mean,
is
talk about open-ended. What is so I mean,
like
I guess if you think that like
wow.
Trump is going to be reelected, it's the right direction. Like in the lens that I'm sure this is kind of like gearing towards, right?
All of draining the swamp. What do you use the most important issue? All of the
I
above.
like how he loves in caps too. I
Fucking
don't think that's by accident. There was another good one. Something about like dangerous illegal immigrants or something.
wow. Oh yeah, do you agree that our nation should prioritize American citizens over dangerous illegal aliens? I mean, that's such a these
I
questions
love
are
that
so
framing.
badly worded that
Yeah,
you either like first off, the only people who are going to take this are fucking Trump fans. And
for
then the
sure.
questions are even worded to skew towards one
To
answer.
just that,
Because
yeah.
then, I mean, this is like, have you stopped beating your wife question, Where it's like, yes, okay, so I
Yeah.
have
So you
historically beat my
haven't been
wife,
your
or no, and I'm
yeah.
still beating her. Like, this is
Yeah.
what this question is. Like, this is what like, the people who made this, like, clearly didn't go to college. Because, like, they're just idiots. Like, if you take any research class and you pay 5 seconds of attention, you know that wording questions like this is not correct. Unless, like, Trump is like, yeah, make the question stupider. Make it really dumb because I'm stupid. But, I mean, as we initially set up, that this is just a big ego trip for Trump anyway because he didn't get any attention on Super Tuesday. So maybe we're the idiots for complaining about it.
I think well, I mean, it's been established we are the idiots. 27 is
We
really good
are
too.
the idiots.
We are the last intellectuals.
So what does 27
Who
say?
who will you vote for in November? President Trump or a big government socialist? Those are the two options.
A big government. So like any, they're just conceding that like any Democrat is a big government
Well,
socialist.
but that's again, that's like
That's
the
awesome.
narrative. That's the narrative that they're going
Obama was
with.
a socialist.
Isn't that so funny? One of the most like status quo. Am I using the term neoliberal correct in that instance?
Um,
Was he neoliberal?
I
I feel
don't
like people go back and
know.
forth on
I mean,
that.
he's neoliberal in his application of not giving a fuck about human rights. Usually, a lot of neoliberalism is like austerity policies and trying to be more fiscally concerned with government
Yeah,
programs
okay.
and promoting more market forces to try to
Mhm.
take care of
Okay.
problems.
Okay.
It's yeah, it's like it's liberalism light. It's like, oh, if you had liberalism, we would have a greater social safety net. Neoliberal. I mean, I don't even think
Such
we
a
could really
odd
define
framing.
uh, people as neoliberal. I think it's mostly just like right leaning. And most of the left leaning people in politics are like neoliberals. I mean, look at the fucking 94
Okay.
look at
Yeah.
the 94 crime bill. I mean, Joe
Yeah.
Biden
Yeah.
brags that we just fucking increased the death sentence for 60 new crimes. Like,
Great.
thanks, buddy. Thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah, but enough about Joe Biden and Trump. We got something to laugh the fuck out about. So, libertarians are great. As anybody who has spent any amount of time watching any libertarian national convention debate, you will know that the people that run for libertarian office are insane. They want the right to sell
Heroin.
drugs to babies. And if you oppose that
Oh
right,
my
you will be
God.
booed.
That's so
This
funny,
happened
man.
in the 2016 Libertarian National Convention debate when they were trying to figure out who their candidate would be.
I
But
mean, it's an odd tent to be under because it's like they bring in the biggest, I don't know, not dummies, but uh
fantasy
like
fans. These are people
fantasy
who like
fans.
Lord of the
Yeah,
Rings, really. I
yeah.
mean, they're
I
just
mean,
they're living in a fantasy world.
well, because it's like they bring in on both sides, like both like anarchists who I guess are like very left,
I mean, yeah. I mean,
just like
anybody
no
who's
government.
libertarian in America is probably an anarchist. They all, I mean, at least in the party, the members active in the party do not want like driver's license. They don't want like any government institute to do anything. They don't want roads.
But I don't understand. Honest, I mean, we can like delve in those waters like all day. But like, I don't understand how they think that like society, the world can function if there's always going to be
Well,
someone
usually
calling the shots.
they short circuit. Like
Yeah,
this is a philosophy I have about stupid people is that they're just saving energy. And their brains are not used to working at higher levels of cognitive functioning. So what happens is their brain short circuit and they restart and they when they restart they don't like have saves of their memory of what caused
yeah,
them to crash.
yeah.
So they
So
go
they just
back to
keep
a
going
previous
about.
state where they did not learn any
Mhm.
of the information that caused them to question,
Okay.
their
Yeah,
beliefs.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
every Sam Cedar debate with libertarian ends that exact same way, where the
Uh-huh.
libertarian basically explodes
And they just go
and then
back
just
to
runs
saying
away.
what they were saying. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and sometimes they call Sam Cedar a terrible person for wanting a library.
Or giving poor children food.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you could do that as an individual, but if the government did it, it would be terrorism because the government has to terrorize you for the money to buy
Mm-hmm.
the food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't even talked about the actual libertarian thing that we're
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
talk
yeah,
about.
yeah,
There
yeah.
was in North Carolina, the primary for the libertarian presidential candidate. Guess who won?
Um, well, I did hear that Vermin Supreme was running under the libertarian ticket, so I'm just gonna put my money on Mr.
I mean,
Supreme.
I think he wears a boot on his head, and I would
Because
vote
yes,
for
he
him.
wears a boot on his head and he's a very dirty old man.
That's
He's
perfect.
my
That is
favorite.
exactly what I expect a libertarian to be. But the Libertarian Party is probably one of the most eclectic in that it is just
Yeah.
suave, Ayn Randian, super
Yeah.
uber benches,
Yeah,
except for
yeah.
Vermin Supreme. He's the Dia whatever the guy who told Alexander the Great to like get the fuck out of his sunlight. That Greek guy.
Okay.
But anyway, so none of the candidates did very well. In fact, the person who received the most votes was none of the above.
With 30% of the votes.
Yeah.
So it's saying, well, what is this? This is like polling?
This
Or
is
is
yeah,
this
this is the polling for the primary. This is who they're gonna have as
like
their
who do you
candidate.
want as your candidate?
Yeah,
Like
and
none of
they're
them.
very split.
So
Now, mind you, there's some names on here that ran in 2016. One of them that comes up is John McAfee. And yes, this is the John McAfee that founded the McAfee antivirus program. And that guy is a literal fucking lunatic. I think he unironically owns black women as slaves. I'm not sure about this, but he has some really disturbing things about his
it's
life.
quite the
He
accusation.
shit talks his own because he doesn't own anything about the company anymore. He doesn't work there. He doesn't. I don't think he owns any stocks of it. He sold it off, and now he's like a multimillionaire or whatever. But
Mhm.
he'll shit talk it all the time. And I don't think he believes in driver's license. I don't think he believes in any kind of government regulation. And he just basically spends his time, running his mouth off about how the government is evil and he wants to drive boats around in Somalian pirate space with machine guns.
Okay, yeah, I did read about that. Yeah,
Yeah, he is a bit of a fucking lunatic.
that's awesome, man. Hey, that kind of reminds or makes me think of what would be your like stupid rich dream? Like, what would you
Like,
do if you just I don't know, inherited? It's like a Little Lord Fauntleroy situation. You inherited just a retarded amount of money, excuse me, an insane amount of money from a distant
Michael
relative,
Bloomberg,
from Michael Bloomberg himself. Is
he watched
actually
our
a relative of
podcast and
yours.
realized that the error of his ways, and he died immediately after
Died,
finishing his
quotes.
will that bequeathed all of his money to me, and I had to sniff it.
Hmm.
He took a huge bequeathing to my face.
Yes, yes.
You
How?
know,
What do you do with that money?
I
Go.
don't know. I don't really like money, and
I don't either.
and I
That's why I'm
and I
curious.
so
So
I
like,
feel like there's either two roads where it was like I just try to pretend that I don't have it, and I try
mhm,
to live my life as normal as possible,
yeah.
or I just go ape shit with it. Because like I guess it depends on how much money it is. Like, is this like transformative amounts of money? Like, is this literally like Jeff Bezos tier? I mean, if it's Michael
Oh, I see what
Bloomberg
you're
tier, I mean that's
saying.
60
Yeah,
billion, right? Like,
yeah. It's like it's like it's M to B aliens. Yeah, yeah. Like
man, I
somewhere.
think I guess I would try to set up
It's
as
fuck you money.
much money as possible to be funded in candidates that I gave a shit about.
Okay, okay.
It's some
That's
kind
pretty
of like I don't know anything about how like funding
how
works. I mean,
funding
I know there's
works.
like donation limits and stuff like that. But if
Yeah.
you send up like if you
Well, you
set up
could
some
just have
kind
a
of like
pack. You'll be fine.
pack or super
Yeah,
pack, and you can just
yeah.
pack it full of fucking
Pack
money
that
in
pack.
the ass,
Yeah,
like.
yeah. Isn't that crazy? That's like a loophole where it's
Yeah,
like,
there's some kind
okay,
of
you
fucking
can't.
bullshit going on. Or you can like have a foundation like the Hillary Clinton Found. Well, it's the Clinton Foundation or like the Trump Foundation or whatever, right? And then people donate to that. Like Saudi Arabia donates to the Clinton Foundation.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, that's some fucked up shit. I don't know. I would.
Money floating around.
I don't know if there's anything dumb that I'd want to do. I can't. I don't know.
I like that. No, the former idea is like that's that's honestly how people should be when they get like an insane amount of money. It's just like just live your life as you
I feel
were.
like I would
Just
go.
be
I would
modest,
just,
man.
I would like go to the movie theater and I would like
You can do good with
just tip
it.
everybody a hundred
Yeah,
dollars. Like
yeah,
just
yeah,
wherever I go, just tip them
yeah,
whatever. Like
yeah.
I don't fucking know. I
So you
wouldn't know how
don't.
to manage it, but I would want to like give it away as much as possible.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So you don't want
Because it
to.
doesn't because it's not my money. I mean, other people did the work to earn it.
Yeah,
Bloomberg didn't earn $60 billion. Nobody earned $60 billion.
that's insane, man. Billion with a B.
Yeah, a
That's
fucking
so much
1,000 million.
fucking money. Oh my God. And then people
Speaking
are
of
like,
that,
is this a good segue? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
well, it is a good segue too. Is that the amount of money that Bloomberg spent was like what, like $500 million.
Hmm.
Somebody did like an analysis of it, and that was like 1% of his total wealth.
I know,
Like,
it's a drop in
like
the
that would be
bucket.
like if I spent ten
$7 or
dollars.
something. Yeah.
I think I
Yeah,
don't even know how
yeah.
I think that might be even lower for me. Actually, it might be.
I spent 25
I
cents.
guess no. Actually, if I consider worth, I would have to get paid money because like when I think of like student debt, like my
Oh,
student debt
yeah,
outweighs my
yeah.
assets.
Oh,
Like,
no.
so in actuality, the government would pay me money to run for president, and then I would still win American
Which
Samoa.
is how it should be.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, there is a non-meritocratic society, and that creates a problem of who gets to rise to the top.
Hmm.
And it starts in education, but it's in a lot of other things. But education is the most obvious one. But yeah, as we said, Bloomberg spent a fuckload of money, and he won one place. I didn't even know this play. This was
Samoa.
a learning experience. Bloomberg paid $500 million for me to
That's so
learn that the
cute.
American Samoa is a place that gets primary fucking delegates. I don't even know what the fuck
So
the American
funny.
Samoa is.
The only reason I know of the American Samoa is because it's a reference in Better Call Saul. Because
Wow.
that's where Saul Goodman or Jimmy McGill got his that's where
His
he passed the
degree?
bar. Yeah, in the
Oh my
American
gosh.
Samoa.
How in the fuck? I don't know. That's just.
So
I
is
wish I could spend that little money. of my total wealth and achieve something so great as educating the American populace about the American smoke.
Yeah, it's something that needs more advocacy, definitely.
It's like the that medication that Martin Shkreli raised the price on, and then people who were
Everyone just
taking
wanted to kill him.
yeah, and people who were taking it were like, "Oh, this is actually great because now companies notice that they can make money on it. We actually have
Yeah.
some people trying to make better drugs because the drug's like 60 years old and sucks, and I hate it."
Hmm.
I forget what it's called, and that is a very long story for another time probably. But so speaking of spending a lot of money, you know what costs a lot of money?
What?
Developing medicine. You know what would hamper the development of a coronavirus vaccine would be Sanders socialism.
I wholeheartedly agree with that
Yes,
statement that you just
exactly.
made.
Because the American government does not fund medical research. No, no, no. The
Mm-mm.
private sector, that's where the funding
That's where
for
all
medical
the
research
money
comes in.
is. Yeah, yeah.
Because when you look at the data, the private sector, those corporations, they're not but getting stock buybacks. They're not using their money to advertise because only in America can you advertise prescription drugs to people on TV and to other countries that will be referred to colloquially in the Trump terms as shithole countries. That's another thing that America has on in relation.
States.
And they would never use the money to empower themselves in a way that allows them to maintain their monopoly so that other people cannot get in rightfully when they should be able to based on the current laws. They wouldn't lobby or anything like that. No, no, no. They use the money that they get. The reason they have to charge you, hundreds of dollars for insulin is because not because the guy sold the shit for $1. No, no, no.
Mm-mm.
Because they got to make better insulin. And better insulin is right around the corner.
They just have to tap into the
You
markets
just
and
gotta
get it.
tap into it. That's exactly. So if you are lacking in a certain kind of social understanding, we are being rather facetious. And one of my favorite people, he is a PragerU alum, Andy Putzer. He was what does he do? He's the something of something
He's
something.
the like the chief officer of Hardee's.
I love Hardee's, but I am so glad whenever I see a Hardee's close now because of this guy. And basically, he wrote an article for Fox News on
Chief
saying the
officer.
coronavirus vaccine would not be able to be created under Sanders socialism as effectively under the private sector because the private sector is all about innovation, even though the thing that drives innovation is money. And you want to know where most of the money comes for funding healthcare research? It comes from the American government.
Yeah, no shit. It's so
Yes.
funny,
So
man.
this is just an article basically exploiting people that just don't know better, or as we colloquially, I keep saying this word wrong.
Colloquially.
Yes, thank you. That word we refer to as idiots. But let's go. We need to get to some segments. So let's roll through the rest of these real fast.
Okay.
Okay, so to own the libs, Republicans in Idaho they want to move forward with a law that makes it so that you cannot change your sex on your birth certificate. And even though they've lost lawsuits on this already, but they're doing it so they can own the libs and score brownie points with their very, very, very uneducated electorate that is unable to wrestle with the fact that sex and gender are not the same thing. And then
Mhm.
once you go through enough changes, you can be the other. I mean, who gives a fuck?
Who gives a
Who
shit?
gives a
Yeah,
fuck?
yeah.
You really care that? I'm like, why do Republicans
Why
care
do
so
you
much about
care
my
that much?
penis?
I don't get
Get out of the government out of my penis
Get out
now.
of my pants.
Out of
Yeah.
my pants. I thought the
It's such
Republicans
a
cared about freedom. How come I'm not free to have either one? Why? And it should be my right to
that's a
determine.
good take.
Fuck
Yeah.
Trump,
You know.
you know? Fuck them.
Why do people I think that's a legitimate question though, is why do like the people who like give a shit so much about it, like literally why?
I mean, they're just. I
I,
mean, some of them think, oh, I don't want my daughter getting raped by some guy in a
oh my
bathroom.
God.
You know, that's one of the dumb things that they
Yeah,
say.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
They care about the moral fabric. You
What
know,
moral fabric?
well, yeah, I'm gonna leave that up to them. I'm not doing any. You know,
Oh
I do.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I spend all
yeah.
my time doing all the work for dumb
Yeah,
fuck ideas. I'm not even
yeah,
gonna touch
yeah,
that
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
okay. We got one other thing to roll through before we get to the crown prince of shit. Emphasis on the shit. Betsy DeVos. She's probably the greatest Department of Education head we've ever had in the history of
Yeah, very true.
mankind.
Yeah, if you hate education.
Yeah, if you hate education, I hate education. You know, I hate school. You
Yeah,
know, and
I
if you're smart, I
didn't
think you
have.
hate school. You
Yeah,
know, us
yeah.
smarties here, we hate school. So,
Mm-hmm.
what they're gonna try to do? What are they doing here? They want to change the eligibility criteria for the rural and low income school program so that it will be harder for the rural and low income schools to get extra money from the government to offset the money that they lack because schools are funded via property tax. So, this is going to affect rural and low income areas. You want to know who predominantly resides in rural and low income areas? Poor white people,
Yeah.
you know? Uh,
Like an unintended side effect, because you'd think that they
well,
just
yeah, I
hate
mean, I'm
black
not a
people. So
conspiracy person, but I mean, the conspiracy here is that, oh, we want to keep them dumb and keep them voting Republican, you
yeah,
know?
see
Like
it.
but I mean, that's not really the issue. I
That's
mean, they just
thinking
want to
too hard
defund as
into
much as
it, but
possible and put
yeah.
people in his debt as much as possible and try to get this like charter school thing off the ground, which in if okay, charter schools could work in a theoretical sense if every child brought the same amount of dollars to the school
Hmm.
that they enroll in, and then that's it. You can't fucking like be in a better area and go to a better school. It's that like, oh, this school has a capacity for this much, and then each student brings in this much money. But I mean, that wouldn't work because then you would just try to like crowd as much people in as possible. I mean, there needs to be a way that like everybody starts with the same level playing field. I mean, a white kid going to a better school because his family lives in a better area, that kid didn't do anything to deserve that. But then
Yeah,
a fucking,
yeah.
you know, another kid living in a shittier area, you know, he didn't do anything to deserve going to his shitty school. I mean, you know, these are inherited, accumulated
Hmm.
privileges that they
Hmm.
get from their parents basically not being fuck ups, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
And basically, this just further skews the outcomes in education more in the favor of people who have wealthy parents, which is who the Republicans care about protecting. You know,
Hmm.
if you have wealthy parents, well, you're always going to be able to pay for education. You always be able to pay for healthcare. So, yeah. And then there was one other gaffe with Betsy DeVos is that the accrediting agency for colleges accredited a college that does not exist. And it turns out the reason that this happened is because Betsy DeVos's Department of Education rolled back some kind of protection or regulation or something from the Obama era that would have prevented this gaffe
Yeah.
from happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
But don't worry, she's very embarrassed about it and she's looking into it. So I am in full confidence that Betsy DeVos will take care of all of our education problems.
Yeah, you know, you are looking through very rose-colored glasses, my
Well, they're
friend.
shit colored because I'm
You're
down by the booty. I am now engaging in
is
man
it
the Pete. Well,
uh,
I mean, he did the joke Pete Booty Judge. I mean, that was on like a late night thing that he did, right?
I don't
I think
know.
that's a
That
pretty
sounds
funny
so
nickname. Did
dumb,
you see that one? I
so
think he,
stupid. Was it
yeah.
like a read mean tweets on Jimmy Kimmel or
It was
something?
something like that. Yeah, he went on something, and he's
I
there. I'm
don't
pretty sure, and
remember.
he's like
Yeah.
Pete Booty Judge here to judge booty or something, you
Well,
know. So
well,
like,
so relatable. He's got my vote. Oh wait,
yeah, it was surprisingly
dang
that was
it.
one of the less cringe things. So the
Uh-huh.
thing we're going to talk about that he did is pretty cringe. Another thing that the most cringe thing is when he tries to go and talk to a union that's striking. That when I watched that, I could tell that he has never ever in his life had to consider what it's like to be working a job that has
Mhm.
any kind of work instability, and that he's never had to worry about like making any kind of payment or any kind of money or anything like that. I mean, he worked for a company that essentially was like a counseling kind of thing for other companies to basically squash unions and other shit like that, I'm pretty sure. So, but what was it? So he dropped out, but in February 22nd, which was what, like, is that 2 weeks ago?
What's that?
He had a tweet. He had like a fucking tweet storm where he's like talking about this. So the event in question that he references, he was at a gymnasium, and he's doing some speech about whatever, and then the lights go out in cascading order, and I mean you can watch the video. It is embarrassing. The lights go out perfectly where the camera cuts to him and then he turns and he's like, whoa, and lights go out, and then it cuts and it's like, but then something happened, and like one person lifts up their cell phone, and I mean, it really seems like they were told like, okay, lights are going to go out. I want you all to lift up your cell phones. Cause like, first off, that's not how blackouts happen. Like your lights don't go out sequentially. Like, what the fuck is that? And then it's also edited perfectly for this like quote viral moment, as if like you're too dumb to recognize how fake and disingenuous it is. But so February 22nd, he had this like tweet storm where he was talking about that event, and he's like, this past fall we were campaigning near Reno. In the middle of my remarks, the power went out completely. Well, no, it went out sequentially. I was speaking to a dark room with no microphone, raising my voice to make myself heard. Okay, that's not what he did. He's like, oh well, if I talk this loud, can you hear me now? Like it was, I don't know. He kind of.
He's so disingenuous.
He's so
it
fake.
Hurts me, man. It fucking hurts me, dude.
Yeah, but anyway, he goes on. This is the part where I'm sorry, you're gonna need to hold your butt cheeks, everyone. It gets a little cringe here, but I'm gonna read through it.
Clench them.
Clench them. It only took a moment. But then something happened. One person held up the glowing screen of their phone, and then another, and then another. Everyone holding up their lit phones together until the whole room was lit up. And I couldn't see who was behind each light. Who was young, who was old, who was white, who was black. Who was Latino or Asian or Native. Who was on 2 feet or who was in a wheelchair. I saw each little light and knew that behind it was an American who saw the lights go out and knew to do something about it. All it took was one person, and the others began to do the same. Oh my God. If we can light up a high school gym, we can light up a neighborhood. If we can light up a neighborhood, we can light up a city. And if we can light up a city, we can light up our country. In what? Flames?
No, in cell phone lights. But that is like quintessentially Pete Buttigieg, though. It's the art of saying so much stupid shit and trying to like get all these different people to like kind of tune in on that one thing that's about them and not saying anything at all.
Yeah, I mean, this is like pretty utterly meaningless.
It's fluff. It's worse than fluff.
I'm offended that like he brings in like the race thing here, and he's like, oh, I couldn't see like who they were. Like they were like I mean, it just comes off as like like woke pandering.
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
I can't believe he's not going to be our president. That's so unfortunate.
Yeah, how unfortunate.
Dude, imagine him going up against Trump though.
Like
it's like
there are ways
both ends of the spectrum.
Oh God, he'd fucking get. I don't know. I mean, he's young. I mean, he has his brain cells. Yeah. Biden's gonna get destroyed.
That really makes me sad too.
But like there are ways to talk about like, oh, like it didn't matter what race they were important. Like that's. I feel like if I can be as
context doesn't cover
like,
that.
Yeah, he's just saying like, oh, I couldn't see who it was. It's like, oh, so if you could see if they were black, Asian, Latino, or Native, would you have called them out and said like, there's the black guy doing it? Like,
yeah.
like is he lowering the bar for people by a race that like he is attributing certain kinds of like expectations to them, or is he, or I think he's saying like, oh, they all did it and like, you know, it didn't matter what race they were and we couldn't see what race they were and like that made it easier or something. I mean, I kind of struggle to get what he's saying.
He just wanted to shoehorn black, Latino, Asian, Native, and ableist type people into this dumb viral moment.
And the last thing isn't even true, because if somebody's holding up a cell phone, you're gonna know if they're in a fucking wheelchair.
If they're in a wheelchair. Maybe it was a kid, okay? Asshole.
Yeah, maybe he's a little kid. I don't fucking know. I don't feel like he's got my back as an American
I want
Indian. I feel like
I want to meet the person. Well, my grandma really liked Pete Buttigieg, which kind of already says something, but I don't want to meet the person who's like a hardcore, like, I guess was now a hardcore Pete Buttigieg supporter, and it's like, why?
yeah, I don't
What?
know.
Where do you see the appeal?
He's just a little weird.
Where do you see the banana appeal?
I mean, I want somebody that seems like he speaks to either some kind of experience or has some kind of understanding of what
Mhm.
it's like to actually be a person, born to a family that isn't wealthy. But the problem is that the people who end up in these positions are people who are born to families that they'll never have to be able to
Yeah,
experience
yeah,
that,
yeah,
and that's part
yeah.
of the problem. And it's just like I struggle to understand what, like, I mean, this is like the very lame democratic, like, bring all the races in kind of thing, which is
Hmm.
good. We should do that, but there are times where somebody speaks of that in a way that's like dumb. I mean, I
Insincere.
don't think
Yeah,
Buttigieg has as many gaffes as Biden.
yeah.
I mean, if you are educated, Biden has not helped black Americans.
Mm-mm.
Like, I'm sorry if
Mm-mm.
you don't fucking know Biden's own crime bill,
Yeah.
but he has not done much to help black Americans. And in fact, he's probably caused more of them to die than he has caused more of them to live.
But he was vice president with the black man.
Yeah, so therefore, yeah, pretty much.
So
I mean,
therefore good.
that's what happens when you have low informed, low educated
Yes.
voters.
That's like what he's
And that
writing
doesn't
on.
matter what race you are, you can always
So,
be
yeah.
manipulated by. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like Biden created the problem with over incarceration of people. I mean, in a lot of ways. I mean, he says the 94 crime bill is the Biden crime bill. And that bill allocated a fuck ton of money towards more policing, a fuck ton of money towards building more prisons, and a fuck ton of harsher penalties for all sorts of crimes. This is exactly where the system of a down mandatory minimum sentences comes from, because you can no longer commit crimes and the judges no longer have judicial discretion to give you lighter sentences now that are mandatory minimums that you have to go to jail for regardless of the circumstances
That's so
revolving the
messed up,
crime.
man. That's so gross.
Yeah, I don't know. System of a down has pretty good politics.
Really?
So yeah, the other line that's like, I think, not from the one guy's solo album is "You Can't Stand Still in a Moving Train." Like you can't sit there. I mean, we're gonna progress from life to death, and
Hmm.
Earth is gonna progress onward chronologically in time. Like you can't just sit there and be like, oh, we're just reporting the news. This
Yeah.
is kind of my argument for why I don't like NPR a little bit, although NPR is a little too bootlicking at times. I have an article we can talk about that in the future
Okay. Yeah.
podcast, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really,
Yeah.
really don't like
Remember
some of
that.
their takes on shit.
I'll write that down. Actually, that's.
Yeah, but I don't know. Buttigieg dropped out, and then of course, like I feel like if he had any integrity, he would support Bernie over Biden.
I
I don't think
know.
he aligns with Biden as much as Bernie.
I don't. Well, I think the
But
only reason he aligns with them. Well, but
well, because he's a corporate hack. He's a corporate shill.
he's a corporate hack, and just from like personality, not personality, but like uh Bernie like laid into him hard
Yeah, he heard his
on
fifis.
the millionaire thing. So I have a feeling that just based off of that, there's no way that like Buttigieg would swallow his pride and be like, okay, well, you made fun of me for just about everything that I've been doing while running,
Everything
but
that's wrong with politics, I
everything that's
did it, and
wrong
you
with
made fun of me for it. So
yeah,
have this one.
yeah, pretty much.
I'm supporting the dying old guy who can't remember the Declaration of Independence and refers to black people as roaches. I'm gonna vote for that guy. His name is
Like,
Biden.
like why? I mean, I guess it's just voting for like the enemy of my enemy for a lot of people, especially in the
It's the
establishment.
lesser of two evils, and people are too dumb to
For
realize it.
the establishment, maybe.
No, I mean for the presidential thing, it's gonna be the lesser of two. It's probably gonna be Biden
Oh,
and
yeah,
Trump. It's
yeah,
gonna be some
yeah.
total shit.
It's unfortunately on like swallowing that pill that like that's what it's gonna be. I don't know, maybe something will come up, but I think the
I
death
mean,
knell's
maybe Biden will just,
there.
die one
Or
day in
die,
office,
yeah.
and he'll have his VP will be Oh man, that's another thing. I don't want to care. Whatever. We got to move on to some
Yeah, yeah,
segments.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So our first segment was I'm gonna find 1-star movie reviews about a movie, and Fauntleroy here is gonna try to guess the movie. So I'm on Amazon. I'm reading the 1-star reviews of the movie. This is an Amazon Prime movie, by the way. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it after you figure out what the movie is. Let's see here. The description about the movie being about a man whose life has changed is nonsense. The man never changes. He's still the same jerk at the end that he was at the beginning. There was no character development in anyone, no resolution of the plot, what little plot there was, and no theme. The flashback scenes were getting very confusing. Okay,
Okay,
let's have another
keep going.
review.
Let's keep going. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What a waste of over 2 hours of my life. Felt depressed and wondering how this possibly received any good reviews.
Oh
Was
no.
waiting the entire movie for what? For that wow moment that turns the depression around, but never came. Then movie ended abruptly without ending, which I was good with because I can firmly. What the fuck did he write here? Which I was good with because I could finally turn it off at that point. This
Oh,
guy was held high. His name is Elvis. Elvis was held hostage watching this movie.
Oh, the king came back from the dead to watch a watch a movie.
Yeah. Dark, ugly movie about an insipid drunk. Don't get the attraction. Pass on this and save your money.
I don't know, man. Is this a recent movie?
It's a movie that stars a hero from the last movie. I'll read another one that'll really give it away in a bit, but let me get this
Okay,
one
I'm
out.
pretty movie
Okay.
illiterate, so.
The reason people use 4-letter words to express themselves is that they're too uneducated to use better ones. And I know this is a very narrowly focused reason to diss a movie. But frankly, if the very beginning of a movie or book has to be filled with expletives, then I'm not going to watch it. And I won't get to the redeeming values part or the sensitive poetic part or even the love story part played out against a background of gorgeous seaside vistas because I'm already grossed out.
Oh, so it was kind of what I was thinking. Is it the Lighthouse movie?
Lighthouse movie. You're thinking of another movie.
Yeah. I don't know.
I know. Well, okay. Let's get. Let me get this one, and then we'll see if we can get it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
The description says, and I quote, "A solitary janitor whose life is transformed after becomes the guardian of a 16-year-old nephew." Spoiler alert: his life is not transformed. He is the same as when he started. 2 hours of my life I will never get back.
I don't know. I don't know the movie. Is
It's got
it?
Casey Affleck in it.
Yeah, I mean, I caught that. I'm just gonna look up Casey Affleck movies.
Okay, while you do that, I'll read some more ones.
Oh, Manchester by the Sea.
Manchester by the Sea, you are correct. So this is an objectively good movie, and these reviewers are. I mean, the best part is that these people presumably watched the whole movie, and they think that the main character didn't change. And can you imagine why did they think that?
Because they just weren't paying attention.
Yeah, the movie didn't tell them that the main character changed.
Yeah, they didn't have like the voiceover. Now this is the reason.
This is how I changed.
I can't believe I changed this much over the movie. It's like the difference between someone who reads a book, like in school, like you're assigned a book to read, and then there's a person who read it and kind of you don't even have to take notes, just fucking pay attention. Or the person who just went and looked at all the Spark notes and waited for the thing that said okay, this is what happened in this chapter, just in case you're a big dum-dum.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch the movie and you have, once again, significant social understanding, you will recognize that the main character does in fact change. He does bring in the nephew into his life to a degree, whereas initially he wants nothing to do with him. He's only there to bury his brother. But over the course of the film, he lightens up a little bit. He has a little bit of family connection because prior to this, he had isolated himself from relationships and his family and friends and everything, and he was just a sad loser. So if you didn't get that in the film, I'm sorry, but you were too dumb to appreciate good art.
Oh man.
So now we'll move on to the next segment where we do the viewer grab bag. And we had a write-in. One of our viewers wants us to talk about transportation, which is as vague as humanly possible. So we can just start anywhere. We can talk about public transportation. Should public transportation be fully funded so you can just get on a bus?
Yeah, obviously.
Thank you. Great. Okay, we got that one. Perfect. Okay. Okay, the next one. How does transportation look with robot cars?
With robot. Okay,
Like, how do you think it'll really look, and what do you think it should look like?
I've been thinking about that a lot actually. Like, okay, so I think about a society where like all transportation is like automated. You
Like,
know,
it's
like
just like an Uber you call.
yeah, like it's just all, like essentially like robot drivers. Like I'm not even saying it's like, it's a robot sitting in the driver's seat, but like you get into the car, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
like you get into the car and then you plink plink plunk and it's like, okay, I want to go here now. And then you just go to where you want. I see like people who are all about, I don't know, stupid shit, like not stupid shit, but like things like liberty or like being able to do like whatever you want. It takes away that autonomy, right?
Oh,
Like
well, in the
you can't
case
just
of
get
being
into a
able to
car
crash your
just
car and
go.
die, yes, it takes away that
Yeah.
freedom. But that's a freedom
Yeah.
that we probably shouldn't. Nobody enjoys that freedom, you know?
Yeah, but then yeah, no, I agree
That's
with that.
a
Trying to
bad
think of-
negative freedom, I think.
I'm just trying to think of like reasons why people wouldn't be for that. Because I think fully automated like driving should just be a thing. Like I just think we should just all be on a grid, and just like where do you want to go? I think we'd
Yeah, people definitely. I mean, the
be
death rates would be a lot less with robot drivers because most deaths in cars are human error, you
Oh,
know?
for sure, yeah, because you're
Yeah.
busy looking through Pinterest or whatever, or like jerking off at hot chicks on Instagram
Yeah, if you're lucky.
while you're driving. um,
Yeah, and I mean, like there is niche cases where you would want a vehicle for personal use,
mhm.
and it's not like we're necessarily
I always think
you
of
would outlaw that.
yeah.
But in the transformation to a kind of, you know, automated car driving taxi service where you maybe don't need to drive a vehicle, the burden of insurance falls on the company with ownership of the vehicles because no individual person is gonna I mean, it depends how corrupt the system would be, but in terms of the legality of it, it's pretty impossible to establish blame on a passenger in a vehicle that they have no control
that they're
over.
not. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then that's one of the issues is that people are very uncomfortable dying to robots. But people are also uncomfortable getting killed by drunk drivers.
Yes,
But the problem is that people are less
It's
up in
it's more of
arms
the
about
unknown.
that. Yeah.
It's more of an unknown, and people are
And
just
there's
afraid of
that old
that.
I think there's like an MIT you can you can choose who should die if the car has to hit like a group of people. Like there's like a little kids and grandmas and there's like fat people and skinny people. And it's like how
Or
should the car drive? It has to hit one of the groups, or what group should it hit, you know?
are you talking about the trolley problem?
No, this is something that predates
Different?
that. I mean, I don't know
Okay.
I don't know when I know when the trolley
Yeah,
problem became
yeah,
a meme,
yeah,
but
yeah.
this is a thing. I think you can still Google it. I think it's like a 2012 thing. It's like a MIT moral judgment simulator about a car, and they have two little there's a crosswalk, and the car has to hit one of the groups of people because the crosswalk is full of people, and you have to choose do I hit the fat people? Do I hit the
Jesus.
small people? Do I hit the kids? Do I hit grandma? Like things like that.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
at the end of it, you can kind of see where you fall in terms of your moral, who do you think in this situation morally should die? And that situation is more about in terms of who do we protect and who do we let die. It's less about driving in cars because
Yeah,
there
yeah,
will
yeah.
rairy be a situation where a car is going to be like,
Where
oh no, there's
you're in
fat people
that
and skinny
much
people. Who do
control.
I kill?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
because it's assuming that you can't just drive the car in another place that would avoid all of
Right.
this, or at least
Ditch or something.
cut down on the damage, or the car wouldn't be in that situation in the first place, assuming that everything was working properly. But yeah, I mean that's one of the issues holding back fully automated gay space cars is that people are very uncomfortable getting killed by cars. And anytime somebody gets killed by a car, it's like,
They
oh
all
fuck,
freak out. Yeah.
it's always some oh fuck, the public resentment against it is so fucking high.
Have you ever seen like Tesla cars that can pretty much self-drive at this point? Have you seen
I've
videos
never
of the
really
inside?
seen one.
Dude,
Like,
it's so cool.
The last I heard of him is some guy crashed one because he was like, as you said, jacking off to girls on Instagram, and then his car
Yeah.
crashed because he wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, you think about it, the technology is already there for the car to like identify if there's anyone in the proximity, because that's like when you back up, it goes beep 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 beep. Oh my God, look out! There's someone behind you. And like more like newer cars, more recent
Yeah.
makes and models. So like the technology is already there for it to like recognize if there are things nearby.
Yeah,
So it just like keeps a certain berth between the car either in front of it or behind it.
yeah, there's all
Interesting.
sorts of different kinds of
Really cool.
mechanisms that are available to detect shit around the car. One of the things I remember reading about back when I had a political science class and we had to talk about some issue, and I talked about driverless cars, is the cameras that you need in place on them are fucking expensive.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there are some alternatives that are not as good that are like, 10 times cheaper. I think like the camera, the top camera was like $26,000 or something. Like
Hello.
and I think these would be need to be in place for insurance liability issues, because
Yeah.
you would not always have a witness, and the witness who is a passenger may not even be paying attention. So you need, some kind of thing to make sure that you're in the clear. And then once again, the insurance would be on the dealership producing the car. So it would change, well, not the dealership, but whoever owns the vehicles that is moving people
Yeah.
around. And that's why this would have to be like a public transit thing, because like if it were, and all the articles that I read about it always talked about as if a corporation owned this, which is kind of scary. But like if that were the case, the corporations would have the insurance on it. So it kind of wonders, is like, it's safer, but at what point would it save money? Because initially
Okay.
it's a huge cost.
Yeah.
Initially it's a huge cost, and then eventually it'll become affordable once technology and things like that get better. But then, like, let's say, oh, we're not buying cars anymore. Kind of the same way that like the prices for things artificially go up despite justifications for them should be
Yeah.
better and cheaper, like internet.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
internet,
Well, I
you
think
see
that's
internet
the
in other
problem.
countries, you get 1,000 gigs for $10 a month. In America, it's like you get whatever you're lucky enough to have available to you, which
Yeah.
oftentimes is like one provider if you're in a rural area and lucky.
I mean, doesn't that kind of go towards like trust and all that? Like antitrust, I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, when has the government ever broken anything up ever since the fucking bell? And
Teddy Roosevelt did it okay. Maybe
yeah,
you can
well, that's what I'm
maybe come
saying.
back and do it again,
The
okay?
fucking the telephone company. Yeah, he'll come back from the dead and do it again. Hopefully, I don't even.
And the
I don't even.
railroads.
A lot of people talk about this. I don't think we should actually break up any companies, because I would rather. And this is, I don't know. I don't know enough about this, but
That's
this is my conspiratorial hour where
Conspiracy corner.
what
Call it
I
conspiracy corner.
where I'm
Not a
afraid of
conspiracy.
China. This is where I sound like a capitalist, but I would rather have a company that is under, like, is staffed by people not from China. And I don't have anything wrong with Chinese,
Yeah,
but there's issues in China with what is it, IP, intelligent, like the property
yeah.
protections, protecting the rights
Intellectual property.
things. There are lots of theft that happens in China because of this. And then also, I don't really trust the honesty. I mean, I don't really trust the honesty of American or like, Apple or Google or anything like that. But I would rather have Apple or Google rather than Tencent.
Yeah.
Like, despite Scott Blythe tells me that Apple tries to not be evil, that they try to not have slave labor, and they try to, find places, they try to not do this. I don't know. That's what he says.
How they
And
get
I
around
trust him. So
How they get around doing that is going through China. Have you read about the like the factories that are
yeah, I
in,
know.
like,
There's like a
China or something
factory.
like that?
There's like a factory that like blows
Like
up.
literal slave labor.
And like they have like their dorms nearby, and it's just like,
And they have anti-suicide nets because people are trying to jump out and kill themselves.
yeah. So like, I mean, yeah,
That's
I would prefer an American company over a Chinese company being the dominant
yeah.
internet,
Yeah.
the dominant tech company, because Chinese government scares me. You know,
Is
Chinese people are great. The government,
yeah,
their
yeah, yeah,
censorship,
yeah,
fuck all
yeah,
that shit. Fuck
yeah.
Tencent. Like Tencent will censor things. You know, if you ever used it, or like not Tencent, QQ. If you ever try to use any of the
I
Tencent's
have no clue
products,
what that means.
QQ is like basically instant messenger for Chinese people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. What is our
Oh,
next
it is
segment? So
Tencent.
we were talking about transportation.
Yeah.
Well, we
Oh, and I
solved it.
thought something you said segued into another thing,
I don't
but
even. I have no fucking
oh no, it
idea.
is literally the next one. Yeah, the shit take.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So yeah,
We were
we're
talking
kind of
about
in
different kinds
conspiracy. So
of
now the next
people.
segment is the shit take. We have to come up with the most shit take. And I just realized that my take is actually probably the smartest take, so I felt bad. I'm gonna lose this.
Oh
But the
no.
question is, who should be the smartest or dumbest people on the planet? And
Interesting.
you're open to interpret the question however you like. I'll go first. You can drown me out if you need to come up with something. I'll go first.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so how do we assess people's intelligence? We use IQ, the intelligent quotient.
Hmm.
But there is an aspect of ascertaining what somebody's IQ is that is related to age. So, who I think the smartest and dumbest people on the planet should be?
Hmm.
Well, I think, since we're speaking hypothetically, the
Uh-huh.
smartest person should be, some kind of pre-language child that knows 1 + 1 = 2, because his mental age, his mental IQ, if he knows 1 + 1 = 2, his IQ would be like higher than Alakazam's. It would be
Yeah. Yeah.
4,000.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I
and
see.
the
I
and
see where
and
you're going with
and
it.
and the dumbest person on the planet is a boomer, because they've had their entire life to learn things and they still don't know how to open up PDF files. And they accidentally post porn searches on their Facebook.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
they should be the dumbest people. They should be the smartest, but they're the dumbest.
They should be
And
considered
and
the
a, and a
dumbest people.
hypothetical child that knows 1 + 1 = 2 before he knows any other language, he
Uh-huh.
should be the smartest person.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. So
Okay.
what
I
is
was I
so
was
what is
trying to think.
yours?
I think anybody that works like actually works for themselves or other people should be the smartest people. And the dumbest people are people who just, inherit wealth and just don't do anything with it. Like
Yes.
just use it for selfish gain, you know?
That was a
I
shit
think like
take.
the
That sounds.
oh
What
shit!
if
Oh,
I
wait,
agree with you?
it has to be a shit. Oh wait, no, sorry. I think the dumbest people are people who
Who do the
squander,
menial labor?
who squander their money trying to help others, and the
Yes.
and the smartest
Yes.
people and the smartest people are those who
Take their charitable
create
givings
they
and
hey
put it in the
excuse
stock market.
excuse me, this is my shit. Are the people who create value by giving people jobs.
Jobs, yes.
The job creators are the truly smartest people in the
Because
world. No matter
they're
how.
enabling those other people. They're not
Yeah,
saying that
yeah,
you gotta use your money wisely. You go ahead and waste it.
yeah,
But they're at least giving them the option.
yeah.
And
They're
they truly are the most genius people in reality. I think you're onto something here.
isn't that like a really cool metric that people use? Like considering
Job
someone a
creators.
job creator. Yeah, like yeah. What kind of fucking jobs are you making? Like yeah, I think 70%. I'm picking a number out of a tree. 70% of like retail jobs don't need to exist. Like those are the ones that that can get automated like right away.
Yeah,
Like
there's a
anyone
lot of
that
like
works at a clerk or whatever. Like you don't need those people there
yeah,
at
there's a
all.
lot of unnecessary shit that gets done or that
But
gets paid for. There's a lot of necessary shit that doesn't get paid for.
yeah, yes.
It's kind of crazy.
And that just doesn't that kind of go to like what we value as a society and what we
Yeah,
just
what
like
we value is
take for
pushing shit
granted.
down your throat that you don't need, but we don't value, taking care of your family when they're sick. We don't value providing, raising the next, generation of
Generation,
workers
yeah,
for
yeah.
for the the society, whatever kind of society it is. It
Hmm.
just stings a little bit in a capitalist society where you have to put in this effort to raise children, and essentially your empathy is being exploited by a capitalist state that has no interest in your actual well-being because it doesn't do anything to provide for you other than just having a government to take care of you from invaders. Whereas in some kind of socialist utopia, theoretically,
Hmm.
you would be and you would feel good about raising a family because you would be taken care of and you would be raising people
Yeah.
to have a place in society, to take your place when you die, to provide aid to other people, and to meaningfully contribute to the society. But in capitalism, when you have kids, it's mostly just because, oh, we accidentally got pregnant,
Yeah.
or I like
Yeah.
having sex. There isn't
Yeah.
really any kind of societal powerful meaning to it
Meaning. Yeah.
outside
Yeah.
of religion. Religions still do that where they try to emphasize having children because that is, I mean, I don't know. I don't know fucking shit about other religions, but in
Yeah.
Christianity,
Yeah. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
emphasize that in a meaningful way. So
I,
outside of religion, there isn't really much
isn't it,
emphasis in capitalism to have children, and obviously Christianity wouldn't support capitalism anyway. But don't tell the
that's
Republicans.
what I was just gonna say. I was like, isn't it funny how like a lot of people who consider themselves to be like strong Christians or whatever, like fall under the Republican banner, I guess, just because
Of like
of like
fringe
one or
issues
two.
that
Yeah, yeah. I was
that
like,
are
dude,
dumb.
what did Jesus say? Like Jesus talked about taking care of sick, poor people, and that
Even
it's
whores.
Eve, especially whores, Mary Magdalene.
Jesus also talked about paying taxes. Render unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Lest we not forget, Jesus was not a libertarian.
Yeah, well, I
Pay
mean,
your taxes. You need
funny.
them roads. Jews got to get to Israel.
What is another really good one is it's easier to get a camel through the eye of a needle than it is to get a rich man into the gates of heaven.
Yeah, you hear that, Bloomberg? Fucking, you're gonna burn in there. Just kidding. That is
Hail, you're
gonna burn in there.
They're gonna give it to you good. That is
Mandatory home movies plug.
yeah, yeah. I think home movies is one of the better. Well, I think there was like a renaissance period of Adult Swim like stupid comedy.
Yeah, home
One
movies,
reason.
Aqua Teen.
Well, and I think Aqua Teen did the same thing because like home movies, it was like they had some kind of bits written, but they didn't have like a full script. It was just like people who were genuinely funny, just like bantering back and forth, and then they would like send that to the animators. And then the animators would have to like make the best of what they got with what they got. It's funny to see like the different processes for like creativity, I guess.
Yeah, there's a part in Aqua Teen where, like, the guy who does Shake's voice, he like pauses before saying his next lines, and then they animated Shake like bending over, like he was just exhausted, and then he goes on
Yeah.
again, and so it's like a funny way of like, oh, there's like this moment. What do we do? Oh, I don't know, just make him bend over. He's so tired. It's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, the behind the scenes stuff on the Aqua Teen DVDs. I've never seen any for home movies. I don't own any of them. But
Man,
the behind the
I
scenes
should
stuff
give
for
it
Aqua Teen is hilarious.
yeah.
If you ever get the opportunity to watch it, y'all should. So let's move on to the last segment here, the most powerful segment, the most philosophically big brain segment, the No Way Out one.
The one everyone's been clamoring for.
Yes, everyone has been CUMMING for. Last week we addressed Obama phones and the inability to work if you own one. This week we're addressing internet shaming and fetishes. So this week you've been caught at AGDQ. I forget what the A stands for. Oh, awesome games
Awesome.
done quickly. That's what it is. I was gonna say American,
American
and then I
Game.
thought of autism. But
Oh
no,
my
it's
God.
awesome games done quick. It's a speedrunning event for some kind of fucking charity. I don't know. It's like the biggest.
Cancer. It's
Yeah,
cancer.
yeah. Well,
It's a
do
good
they always
thing.
do cancer? Sometimes they do Doctors
I
Without
think it's
Borders. I
always
think.
cancer.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Doctors Without Borders. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So they raise money for a charity and they speedrun video games. And this really happened, by the way. Some guy was sitting next to a woman, and the woman gets up and walks away, and then a guy who was sitting next to her gets out of his chair, drops to his knees, and bends over and
His face is right over where the chair is.
yeah, some people say he was picking up a soda, but it looks like he was just inhaling the chair after she got up and moved away from it. So
Mhm.
your impossible scenario is you've been caught chair sniffing at AGDQ and you have to defend yourself on Twitter against the hate mob. So this will be like a non-synchronous kind of back and forth. You have people that are, they're all adding you. Like
they're all
how dare
coming
you
at
sniff this woman's chair? What kind of route are you going to take in defending yourself?
All up in my DMs. Okay, so I say unto thee, who of you has never been caught in a moment of weakness engaging in their most primal and basic of instincts? It is not me to be blamed, but it is the society for not allowing us to engage and indulge in our most primal of needs. And those needs, I, of course, am alluding to smelling areas where women or men, take your pick. I don't judge. Where have been sitting or occupying.
Okay. So I think, you got some memes rolling in. Wow, I didn't know fart sniffing was illegal.
Well, yeah, I didn't know either. I don't know why people are coming down on me so hard for it.
Okay, you're winning over some people, but people are, the women, they're not winning. They're not being won over. They are grossed out. And you got to win some women over if you don't want to be a virgin for life.
Okay. Is there any way to see maybe what the women are like saying? So I have.
Well, they're disgusted that you've invaded the space. Women are like, oh my god, I can't even go and sit down in a chair now with some man sexualizing it.
How do I win over these women?
Well, maybe you only need to win over a certain kind of woman.
Like
a brap hog.
Open letter to all my beautiful queens. If there's anyone who is willing, if there is anyone willing to let me engage in this act willingly, so I don't have to slum it at smelly gamer conferences. It's a win-win for everybody involved. I'm sure none of you care what another person does in the privacy of their own home. So I'm a desperate, lonely incel, and I just need somebody to just listen to me. I'm a nice guy, trust me.
Okay. So the rumblings are going on. People, some of the girls, they're scared. They're getting Elliot Rodger vibes. And they're thinking, they're thinking, one of us might have to take one for the team. Mm-hmm. One of us might just have to let them sniff their brapper.
Yeah.
That's not for them to judge.
Not asking
but
too much,
you're coming out. You're putting your heart out there. You're saying you got this fetish, and you've been exposed in the whole internet. And now that they recognize that and your situation, they can understand the depravity. Some of them are grossed out, but some of your DMs are open. They're writing in.
Yeah.
When are you going to SGGQ? You can sniff my brapper. You got them. These are the best brap hogs around, but
beggars can't be choosers.
Braplets.
Yeah.
You can build a following.
I was going to say, even the smallest braplet can work her way up to be the mightiest of brap hogs if she really
that would lift a plane.
What was that?
that could lift a plane. That's a reference to the old iteration of No Way Out where you had to convince your company that they needed to hire people to fart to lift the planes off and save on gas.
That's a deep cut, and I remember I'm pretty sure I sold everyone on that idea.
Yeah, you actually became CEO of the year in Times Magazine.
I was the certified fart officer.
Yes, the CFO, certified fart officer. It's a new position that actually all companies established because of your leadership.
That is, I am really a trendsetter, and I set the status.
So you're making companies money, and you're also satisfying the depravity of sexual urges that manifest when one is unable to make any significant relationships in a sexual way. So we should probably debrief a little bit. Like, what do you think? What actually happened to this guy? Do you think? I mean, that's got to be the worst. Like, people just think you sniff chairs, and like, what if you really do? And then everyone knows you're a weirdo.
No, he's like outed.
You
Okay,
know?
so well, let's get down to like the real. Like, do you think he actually was smelling the chair? I think you're in camp.
I want to believe that he does.
I want to believe too.
I want to believe, just like in the X-Files. I want to believe.
I know. I forgot the X-Files theme song, but
It was close enough.
yeah.
That was even better.
So I think that I don't know, man. I'm pretty torn. I honestly think that he was like just tying a shoe or something. But like, why do you have to have your face
right on the chair?
Yeah, that's like, it's like that is a no way out situation, because like, what is the actual like excuse?
Like, how do you actually like convince people who've already made up their mind?
Yeah.
Like, the actual no way out is real hard. Like, what that guy actually had to go through was harder. Now, apparently, little trivia, the girl actually went on Twitter and was like, oh, I don't think he did anything. He was a nice guy, blah, 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 blah. You know, like, she went on there and like defended him. So that probably, you know, helped a lot.
Helped his case, yeah.
Yeah, but man, like, and apparently, like, there was, you know, a lot of people on 4chan were like, you know, typical sexist fashion. We're kind of questioning what this, you know, fairly attractive woman was doing alone at AGDQ, as if we lived in fucking like,
who gives a
you know,
shit?
rape
Saudi
culture land or
Arabia?
something.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It turns out attractive women can have hobbies. Did you know that?
They can just do things.
Yes, they can do
be out in
things.
public.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Odd,
It's once you get yourself out of the incel mindset, it turns out you can open your world up to attractive women sitting on chairs that you can sniff.
It turns out that if you just look at people like people and treat them as such, you can even enter them.
Yes. And I think that's the most salient piece that we could really end on, is that when you treat somebody like a human being, you can enter them. Physically?
I'm saying emotionally.
Emotionally? Oh, I thought you meant.
Well, okay, I did mean.
I thought you meant in the gross way.
I meant the PP in the Vajiji, but
or the PP in the BB.
In the babooty.
Okay, well, I think we've solved all social problems, and we've thoroughly discussed all the news.
Again, for this week.
Yep.
See you again.
Yep. Fuck, I should have came up with some way to end it other than just sitting here.
A tagline. Well, you just say goodbye, I love you, bye.
Goodbye, I love you. Have fun at work. Have fun at work, everybody. Okay.